What do you think are the basics, or what are the basics that you're teaching your kids or other people should think about to get their kids AI ready?
Keep it fun. I mean, the fun use cases are the best. There's a million of them. Every night now, ChatGPT gives us jokes before bed, stuff like that. Just keep it fun. But also, there's a million opportunities once you start to see them to engage ChatGPT as a learning tool.
Welcome to another episode of From Startup to Wunderbrand with Nicholas Kuhne. Erich Archer, an Emmy Award-winning creative who's been in the video game for nearly 20 years and is now deep into the world of generative AI. He's the guy behind SmartyPants, a growing set of AI tools which helps people actually use AI without needing to be tech geniuses. His recent projects like Rufus and The First Artists show us how AI can tell real human stories in new ways. He also runs 1623 Studios, a public media hub, and brings a no-nonsense practical take on how AI and creativity can actually work together. So, Erich, welcome.
Thanks very much. I'm excited to talk with you today.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit about custom GPTs. So for those who don't know about custom GPTs, we'll get into that shortly. And we're going to talk a little bit more about generative videos, because I think that's a very interesting space. And I see that you've got 4 kids and you get them involved in making this as well. I too have been playing with Sora with my kids, and
Nice.
the junk that they create has been hilarious. And I have started out very early. They are 8 and 12, and I've said you've got to read the instructions before you just go headlong into creating these things. Now, before we get going too far, I did have a look at your LinkedIn page, and there was a really nice introduction to you there. I thought, let me use that, but it's just very long, and I didn't want to take half the show talking about what you do. But it's a Uniqueness Statement Generator, GPT, which I really liked. And I went and did my own one using it. And I sound amazing. Let me just tell you,
Good.
I
It
sound really
works.
unique. So obviously we'll talk about that, and that is one of the many GPTs that you've created. So let's just start out by going into a quick bit of background, because you have wholeheartedly taken on this new AI paradigm that we're in, even though you come from a very traditional space. So let's talk about your background and how you got into AI in the first place.
Sure. Well, my background is entirely television production. I went to school for it and then went to New York for years, LA, and then moved home to Boston, um, and got into the nonprofit TV space that I'm still in today, 15 years later. And so it's, making videos in one form or another, for a long time. And it's always in our industry been a matter of what is the new tech we have to learn. It's usually cameras, but sometimes it's other things like software or lights or microphones or whatever. Or there's bigger shifts like the whole DSLR revolution or cell phones becoming video cameras and everyone getting their own green screens and drones and like this. So that's the industry. And AI was, we could see it and it's like, okay, here's another set of new technology we're going to need to learn. And because I'm the leader of my organization, I try to get out there and learn stuff first. I'm also just nerdy that way. Like I like this stuff, and I like that there's a new way to make videos. It doesn't scare me. I'm used to that change. So and I've been making things, as you said, the same way for so long. It's like, all right, let's try something new because I'm ready for that. So not it was a necessity, certainly, and also just exciting.
You've worked on a couple of cool programs. I saw The Biggest Loser and MasterChef. I loved MasterChef, so that's one of my but the Australian one. Let me put it
Okay.
that way. So our Australian one, and we've got some similar background, because I was head of marketing at MTV Africa and Comedy
Oh,
Central. So
really?
I've also done a bit of play there. And
Cool.
The industry has changed somewhat over the years. Now, one of the big challenges with generative AI, specifically when it comes to video, is that I think the old adage of garbage in, garbage out is the saying. So, talk to me about your how your background is given in television has really given you an ability to understand how to prompt these new technologies versus somebody who just goes and says, "Make me a monkey swinging through a jungle," etc.
Well, that's where I would have been when I started too. But fortunately for me, I've just been making videos for over 20 years. Like all of those challenges, all of the thinking that goes into that. And hopefully by this long, after doing it for this long, pattern recognition develops, you develop a better eye for imagery and composition and things. I mean, I've been critiquing imagery for a long time, frame by frame and like storytelling that way too. So it would be really weird if I was not able to do this stuff at a high level, I think. And, I also edit. So like I now I can own a project from concept to post production all the way through. I can be the sole person involved. And so it better demonstrate that I understand this process. I've been doing it a long time. So I think as you said, garbage in, garbage out. And these AI tools kind of elevate all of it. So, like the laziest beginner creator will still be able to create pretty high fidelity, cool stuff. But someone who's been doing it a very long time should be able to make really amazing stuff. And if and the same goes for your energy toward it. Like, you can be prolific and make a ton of amazing stuff, or you can go slowly and make bad stuff, but it's
It
all going to look quite a bit better.
I had a very interesting interview with a university professor, a marketing professor, who has, at the age of 53, started an AI agency, and it just got me thinking. A lot of people, especially over 20 years old, or 30, or 40, or 50, are slightly terrified about AI taking their jobs. And I think what you've just mentioned there is probably the most important thing about AI and how we should frame AI, because the years of experience that we've had are not going to be thrown away. They are actually very useful for how we prompt, how we think. And we've got an advantage over youngsters who've got all of this technology, but it's a giant empty canvas and they don't know how to fill it, right?
Definitely. I think your subject matter expertise informs the canvas in a big way. And I think everyone should be thinking about how to apply AI to what they know and what they have spent a career learning about and developing an instinct for. Because I think what they'll find now is if you have an ability to kind of see things uniquely and connect dots that others can't, you can act on that immediately in a lot of cases and develop products immediately in a lot of cases, or test prototypes right away. So uh, I think that and I mean, we're just at the day one of people taking advantage of all of this stuff. So the amount of opportunity, if you understand a certain industry or a niche or something, and you can figure out how to apply AI to business in general, then it's just like, all right, well, what do I know? And how can I apply AI to that? And that's where I've had success, I think.
So I'm going to do my last question on AI, and then we're going to, well, on the video side, and then we're going to go into custom GPTs. Working at what is it here? 1623 Studios, which is a non-profit TV station, I guess, uh, which does hyper localized content, which I think is going to become more and more interesting and useful as as time goes by, because um, there's so much content out there. People still want local news and interesting things like that. So maybe talk to me. How are you bringing in AI, both from a video perspective and from perhaps the GPTs that you're creating, to make your business more efficient?
So for that business, we've found AI more useful on the operations side of the business. Things like dealing with anything textual. You can just process it faster, share it faster, write it faster, stuff like that. So any reporting or data analysis or different things like that, or any like strategy or document creation, all of that is um, AI powered in one form or another. We have ChatGPT for teams, and so we're making GPTs that we can all use together. Like a simple example would be, and I guess this gets into GPTs, but like making a GPT that just houses all of our important documents so that we can ask questions of those documents as a team. If we need to know something from the handbook or the strategic plan or whatever, it's all in this GPT and you can just ask that. You don't have to come find the file and find the page and all that. So like stuff like that.
Has,
And our operations person is busy learning Airtable and automations and all the things that you can automate and make go faster. So for that business, the generative production hasn't really come into play too much, just because of the nature of the work. It's
yeah.
really like get out on the street and use cameras and real people. But I mean, taking advantage of AI for all of the resource gain it presents is what we're trying to do there.
Yeah, I think those internal GPTs for documents are the future, and we've seen all these companies like Copilot with Microsoft and Gemini on Google, which they're trying to push on me every day. Every day there's a new button saying, "Do you want to use it?" No, go away. I don't like Gemini. I want to use ChatGPT, because it's getting to a stage now where there are quite a few of these AI tools, and they are obviously making life easier, but there are too many of them. Then you need to learn how to use this one, learn how to use this one, put data here, put data there. Um, let's talk a little bit maybe about data management then. It might not be your wheelhouse necessary, but how do you avoid going for the next shiny thing? Because there are so many shiny things that are trying to take our attention, especially in this space that is growing so quickly.
Yeah, it really is. If you're a shiny ball chaser like myself, it's a tough, tough environment. It's something. I find that you have to turn that off, and you have to think about the job that you need to be doing. What is the job that you're doing, and how can AI support that? Because the answer is somehow, you know, that there's always it can support you somehow, you know, if nothing else, as like a strategic thought partner. I'm working on this, help me make it better, type of thing. Um, yeah. So
So let's talk about that, about a partner, and I really see that's what these custom GPTs are about. Now you've been in an award-winning book or a best-selling book as well about AI, and I think specifically with the very useful tools that you've created, because you've been one of the guys early on the bus when it comes to GPTs. Maybe talk to me. Maybe explain what a custom GPT is for those who don't know, and then talk about some of the cool things that you can do, like your Uniqueness Statement Generator, which is quite playful, does the job, and then that's all it does.
yeah, I'm glad you brought that one up. I don't think I've ever talked about that one, but it's a great one, and I think it's worth mentioning for a couple of reasons. But I'll come back to it. Custom GPTs sound kind of like AI confusing, but they couldn't be simpler. So I just want people to understand that it's the simplest technology you'll ever use. You can have a kit conversation, which means you can make one. All it is, ChatGPT is this big, large language model. It's a general purpose tool that can help you with anything under the sun. But if you want to put a filter on that of any size or shape, you can do that with custom GPTs. It basically just puts a wrapper on Chat GPT, and you define the wrapper. You say you give it a role. It's just like prompting. You give it a role. You're going to be my uniqueness statement generator, and I'm going to give you my resume, or users are going to give you their resume or paste in their resume or a bio of some kind. And your job is to look at that and think about the world of AI that we're coming into, and think about how, look between the lines of our resume, figure out what's unique about us that might apply to this AI future. Just help me rethink, rebrand myself, think about my skills in this new world, and make it sound phenomenal, you know?
I
And
can say it works.
yeah, and that's how that's made. It's a very simple interface, and you're just thinking through how you would want it to act and then writing that, and it then does that. There's only a few. If you go into ChatGPT and you go into Explore GPTs, you can create your own. And there's other ones other people have made in there too. So you can look at those and kind of get a feel for, like, the kinds of things they can do. But that's pretty much it, and you can think about it like these are things you can put information into, have it be processed in whatever way that is useful to you, and have it output something else. So like put in a resume, have it processed for this AI future, and I want it written in paragraph form now. And that's it, and that's now do that anytime anyone puts that in. And build out in. And so now I just do, that's my approach, is I build things really small, one at a time, so that they work reliably on the one thing that they do. And then I can walk that output to anywhere else I want, to another GPT that does step two or another thing or whatever. So it's just like, all right, cool. I got this. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do that, and that's why there's 100 and something of them, because you need a lot. To think
So,
that way.
so which is your most fun custom GPT that you've created?
I really enjoy, I have like this workflow of like 4 or 5 GPTs in a sequence that are designed to extract humor from today's news. Like, I really want to like make a comic strip or something like that, but like have it sort of like, the first one sort of like, searches the news, and then the next one sort of searches for things that might be humorous based on how humor is. I just went down a rabbit hole of like, what is humor, and how, you know, um, and then just delivered to you like, these might be, if you were going to joke about today's news, you might go in this direction, that direction. I just find it kind of fun to like try to pull novel insights out of the air. It's like
I,
kind of
I,
fun.
s- I saw this hilarious cartoon today. It was by the Babylon Bee, and it said um, Darth Vader accidentally adds Admiral Akbar to Alderaan, chat group. I can't remember jokes at all, but it was so funny because it was, just put it into another context, and I could just see Admiral Akbar getting this message about, when are we going to blow up Alderaan? I had such a giggle,
I
and
love
it
it.
was just
I love it.
absolutely spot on. So that for example would work with your. That was probably coming out of your GPTs. Now,
That's far too advanced. My GPT wouldn't be that funny yet.
oh man,
Trying to get there.
that was pretty great. Um, we mentioned kids a little bit earlier, and I've got 2 boys, and I said they need, they shouldn't be accountants or doctors. Those jobs are going to be gone in 10 years. Well, specific parts of those jobs are going to be gone. I said they need to be astronauts one day. But the discussions that you're having with your kids about AI, is there anything that you're saying to them? Are you training them up? What is your thought process with how AI is going to impact your kids' career or futures? And are you seeing it as a net positive or a negative?
Um, I don't know about the positive or negative yet, but um, hard to understate the disruption and impact I think it'll have over the next 2, 3 years, let alone my kid. I have a 2-year-old, 7, 9, and 11. Like they have a lot of school left, you know. But even my oldest, you know, 7 more years before college, like 7 years,
Yeah.
7 years. Come on, where are we in 7 years?
Yeah. It's
How many
crazy.
humanoid robots are like, I mean, give me a break. 7 years, and that's my oldest kid. So I'm training them up big time, big
So, so,
time.
so, so let's talk about the training up. What do you think the most important education is? And you've gone through a masterclass in AI generation. Um, what do you think are the basics, or what are the basics that you're teaching your kids, or other people should think about to get their kids AI ready?
Keep it fun. I mean, the fun use cases are the best. There's a million of them. Every night now, ChatGPT gives us jokes before bed, stuff like that. Just keep it fun. But also, there's a million opportunities once you start to see them to engage ChatGPT as a learning tool. We happen to homeschool, so I'm really aware of their curriculums and stuff, and like the lessons that they're learning, the books they're using, all of that stuff. And I also am aware of their interests, of course, whether it's Pokemon or Legos or whatever the thing is. So it's like, okay, you're over here learning about, you know, this thing that you seem really bored by. And I know you're really interested in this thing. So why don't I call up ChatGPT real quick on voice mode so he can hear me? And I'd be like, hey, Chad, can you help me explain why this period of history is so fascinating to my 11-year-old using a Pokemon lens? And it'll be like, sure, no problem. And it'll just start speaking Pokemon, but explain this world history or whatever. And he's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Like, we're going on a field trip to this old historical site, and they're all like, "Oh, come on, we don't want to." And then it's like, "Hey, Chat, can you tell them why this is unbelievably interesting?" And by the end, they're like, "Yeah, let's go. That sounds so cool." So stuff like that.
I suppose homeschooling with ChatGPT is going to be brilliant because, like you mentioned, there's the voice companion side, and there's also the lens companion that is coming out now, where you can scan something, it can tell you what it is and where it's from, etc. So you find a shell or some weird thing lying on this roadkill, you can say, "What was this?"
I did a historical plaque today.
Yeah. So, I
Just
mean,
like
homeschooling is going to absolutely. So, what's happening in the education system right now, they are going to have to get rid of a whole bunch of people because those jobs are certain roles, your admin roles, and that are going to be um, not so useful anymore. And what ChatGPT can do, if you are creating a GPT for maths at that particular age based on the curriculum that you upload, because you'd obviously, now there's going to be this whole knowledge sharing side, so you will be able to have custom GPTs from each state probably, and you'll be able to get that, and based on your child's development level, so like Montessori or whatever, you can have it at their particular level. If they don't get it, it'll repeat it in a way that they'll get it. I mean, the possibilities are literally endless, and it's unless you're using the paid one obviously, but it's free. Not with the custom GPTs, but for $20 a month, you do it.
yeah, I mean, enhancing your curriculum, turning work into games. I mean, creative, create. Oh my God, the creative
Yeah.
possibilities. Yeah, I mean, it's a heck of a learning tool. I mean, we started doing this because of COVID, but you know, any 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 organization with any drag of any kind is going to have a hard time moving in this light speed world, and that includes schools. Yeah.
Well, I'm a lecturer. I lecture in digital marketing, and to keep up to date just with everything that's going on, I utilize and I train my class up as well a lot in specifically how to prompt. And I think if we just round this off now, the importance of giving a good prompt can't be underestimated. And if I can encourage everyone before you go onto ChatGPT and before you go onto any of these platforms, learn how it wants to be spoken to first. know the settings, just learn the vocabulary that it likes and the structure, and maybe look at another good prompt, and that should be able to help you have a good experience. Otherwise, like, as we mentioned, the garbage in, garbage out. Are there any other suggestions that you have for folks in terms of starting out maybe on going to the next level of prompting versus how big is the sun?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to understand that it's like sort of the opposite of a Google search, where Google, you type in the fewest words possible. How do I do this? And click on results. This will give you the best result if you give it 3 paragraphs up front, because it's, you want to give it all the contextual information you have, I find. And sometimes that can feel, you can confront laziness in that moment of like, oh, I don't really want to go through everything here. Like, hopefully it can just read my mind. And if you get to that point, turn on the microphone and speak it. Because if you do that, you'll realize once you're done, it really wasn't that much in the first place. Oftentimes, I'll speak for like 7 minutes sometimes as an initial prompt, and I'll press stop, and it's only like a handful of paragraphs. It's not that much stuff. But that's when AI will come back with like something super personalized and great. And certainly understanding prompt structures and things like that is important also. But I just find that just understanding that difference is really super helpful. And then, if you find yourself with a great prompt, custom GPTs are kind of a way to like bake that into a tool and keep it forever. A lot of my GPTs are just good prompts. There's no training material. There's nothing else really. It's just like, I want this prompt works so well. I want to just be able to click it and have it work basically. And that's kind of how the
Yeah.
GPT works.
So you've got your SmartyPants. It's your advanced AI ecosystem. There's a whole bunch of other cool things that you're doing. Where can I send folks to learn a little bit more about you, the CEO's AI playbook, etc., and keeping up to date with what you're doing, and perhaps learn, get some good lessons from you?
Thanks for asking. I'm active on LinkedIn. I'm usually on there once a day or so, and I have a website with all my AI portfolio work. It's called CGA Creative, which is all of my kids' initials, CGA.
Nice.
So you can check me out there at cgacreative.com.
I thought there were 4 CGAC.
CGA Creative. So the C is the first letter of creative.
Yeah. Okay. So that's cgacreative.com. This is
That's
so that
right.
when the transcript gets done, I don't have to.
Yes,
Explain.
cgacreative.com. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Erich, this has been great, and I'm sorry we didn't go too deep into technical stuff, but I think it was some really nice ideas that have come out of this, and I think it's quite topical and current right now, and people need to get onto this bandwagon quite soon, because it's gonna go on without them. And the sooner you start understanding it and bringing it into your life, the more valuable it's going to be. So I really appreciate your time with us, and hope kids enjoy their next trip to the zoo.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I really do appreciate your comments. So why not go and watch this live on YouTube, or go to my website, kuhne.no. That's KUHNE.no for more information.